guys. Today it's snowing, so I guess we're not harvesting beans. But I thought today we'd take a look at our old barn. This barn was, when was it built, Dad?
Built in the early 40s.
This was in the early 40s. My grandpa, and is great grandpa still alive?
My grandpa, my dad built it. They cut the lumber back in the woods here in the early 40s, and had a sawmill back there, cut all the lumber, and had several neighbors come in and helped and build it. I don't know how long it took them to build it, but it was a pretty good task, I'd say, the way it's built, because it's a big old barn.
Yeah, for in its day, this would have been a pretty large barn as far as hay storage goes and whatnot. But I thought we'd make a video of it. This barn means a lot to us, but it's just it's obsolete now. I mean, it's hard to believe it's something that was this hard to build. Within 50 years would be pretty much obsolete, what it is. So it needs a lot of repairs that I don't know, we just haven't been willing to make to it, I guess. But I thought by making this video we'd at least have something to remember by if it fell over. So.
Yeah, we'll probably end up tearing it down is what we need to do,
But
someday.
But I wasn't that big when we got rid of our cattle, so I don't really remember the barn in full operation. So I thought I'd take Dad with us and show us how everything worked inside of it. All right, the first thing you might notice about this barn is that it's a bank barn. It's built into the side of the bank. So if I'm not mistaken, the feedlot would have been in the bottom half of it, and up here would have been where the hay was stored, and all the grain feed and all that stuff wouldn't have been, Dad.
Well, this was just a shed to park the wagons in, and over here where these horse stalls are now that Brian built, there used to be a grinder mixer here, or a grinder. We didn't have a mixer, it was a grinder, a feed grinder, like a hammer mill. And that's where we ground feed. Up above we stored straw, and over here was a bin, more or less. We had oats where we could throw down for the grinder, and we'd put hay on this side. Maybe we'd sell a little bit of hay. We'd stack it, but inside the barn, as you can see here, when we go in, we just put an elevator in each end, and bales, square bales would just drop. But in the early days, it was all loose hay, and there's a track in there, as you can see when we go inside.
There you can see kind of the details of how the barn's put together. I mean, there's a little bit of nails, but there's also notching and pegs and whatnot. And keep in mind, when they did this, it wasn't like they had power tools and all that kind of stuff.
This was the feed room. This was built when we had the grinder here, the hammer mill. I think Dad built this in probably the early 60s, where we ground feed, blow it in there, then it would drop down underneath the basement, we call it, is where we fed the cattle at, the calves.
Dad, what did you guys keep on this side of the?
Well, we had some hogs over here. We raised some hogs. It was just 3 or 4 stalls, and we'd raise a few hogs.
What about over here? This was always like a stalled off.
Yeah, usually that ended up as, if we had some baby calves, had trouble with a cow or calf, we'd bring them up here.
Okay.
Watch it don't fall through it.
Yeah, we gotta watch our step. Where it's on the bank, the barn is gradually sliding down the bank, and you can see that the floor is just heaving up real bad. So, kind of gotta watch our step. I just find it safe to walk where you see nails. There's a stud under there, or a joist. But
this was the manger where we threw the hay down in the manger and fed the cattle underneath. The cattle would be on one side underneath. There's 3 bays here, more or less. The cattle would be in one side, and the calves that we fed out would be on the other side, and that's where we could feed them with the feed.
So that's how you throw hay down for the other side?
And that's where we threw the straw down to bed them down there.
Oh, okay.
If you look up above, you can see the track, and there's a hay fork still up there, and there's some rope that's left. And when it first built, it went out the end, and that's how they got the hay up there. But when we started square bales, we put a bale in the elevator in the bottom window would fill this here, bottom door would fill the center. We'd take it out and put it up top, and it would fill that end, and the same way as the other end. And this is where we played basketball. My brothers and all his buddies from school back in the 50s and 60s had a lot of good memories here.
Yeah, if you're in this local area and you graduated from Southeastern High School in the 60s or 70s, you probably either know someone that played basketball here or played basketball here.
Yep. End up the corn cob fight usually.
So up top here, what was like in the raised part of the floor, top section?
That's just where we put the straw up there usually.
You can see that there's the middle right here is raised up compared to the rest of the top right there. I'll go up there and we'll take some video of that.
As you see, it's just the roof has got some holes in it. Somebody shot holes in it years ago, and it's leaking some, but it's just obviously it's not worth fixing up. There's nothing we can use it for. I guess we just need to tear it down. If you look at the ceiling, the roof, if you see how it's arched, there are 1x4s. I think there's 4 or 5 of them put together, nailed together to make that arch. It's probably one of the biggest barns around in its day, but it's the nicest barns. And out back here is the silo where we usually filled with hay, grass, silage. Sometimes we put some corn in, silage. Are you going underneath?
Yeah. I know whenever I was a kid coming up here, it would just always amaze me to look at I guess the craftsmanship it'd take to build this. I mean, I'd look at it and think, heck, I couldn't do that. I still look at it and think I couldn't do that. But. Over here is where he said they kept oats and stuff for the feed grinder. And I think he said they kept, what'd you say, he kept straw up here in the center? And then over here, hay, and this end to feed the cattle and stuff had been down there. Dad, do you know what kind of wood's this barn made out of?
Poplar and oak, some ash.
So like the beams be oak or would they be ash?
Yeah, or ash, and siding would be poplar.
Okay. This has always had these side doors in as long as I can remember. Do you ever use them? They've always been boarded up.
Cattle, maybe, or something in there.
Okay.
What we usually did, we would run hogs too, feed them out in here, because they would follow the calves around. See, then the hogs would come up in here, and the cattle would down there sometimes, or whatever.
All right, so what'd you say the setup usually was? The cattle in this?
This is where the cattle would come in the barn. They always come in. We'd feed them here in the manger. In the upper part, half of this bay here, that was where we fed the calves out. Usually we'd have some hogs too, pigs, feed them out.
You say only half of this bay? What was in the other half?
Usually in the other half, because a lot of times we would feed the insulage to the cows also, so they could get some also.
Okay.
It's falling. It's gonna fall down. Something was gonna happen.
Hopefully, don't fall down on us.
This was the manger. Each side, we'd throw the insulage out, and we'd carry it down and feed the cattle and the calves. And that was the feed chute there for the feed to come down and put on top.
This was in the feed room where you go.
Yeah, that's where the feed room was. Usually morning and night, feed the calves. Chop it out of the silo this time of year. It'd freeze. Then that hay chute there where we could throw straw down to bed them down. Here was water for watering troughs. But as you can see, it's sliding. It needs tore down before it falls down and hurts somebody or something. But one of these days we'll get to it, I guess.
Yep.
It's all concrete, 88 yards of concrete. back in the early 60s, Dad decided he wanted concrete, so we got a semi-load of 80-pound bags.
So this was all dirt in here?
This was all concrete, but out there was dirt. And when you clean it out, she's always digging in, so he decided concrete. We got semi-load of concrete, and we got had a big mixer a neighbor had, borrowed it, hauled a bunch of gravel, and there was me, my brother John, and 2 other fellows. Mixed it, and I hauled it with a loader in here, and Dad scattered it out, smoothed it down. So it took us 3 or 4 days, but we got it. Made it a lot easier to clean out.
Yep. How long, like I've never remember the silo being used. How long has it been sitting dormant?
We used it up until probably mid-90s. Probably mid-90s.
Mid-90s? I don't remember.
Or mid-80s, I'm sorry, mid-80s. We sold cattle in 99, quit feeding cattle and stuff, so.
But the only thing I can remember this being used for is, I mean, my 4-H calves, all my cousins' 4-H calves is all taken care of in here, but I don't really remember it being in production. It's been, like I said, mid-90s.
That and little pigs when you took hogs to
yeah, we always had hogs in here. These freezers, that's what they are, just
feed.
Yeah, kind of a easy way to keep feed out of the elements. But.
It was nice this day, but it was a long time ago. That was in its days. It's obsolete now.
Hey Dad, why don't you tell everybody what this building behind you here is? I know people are going to ask.
That was a corn crib where we should use to pick ear corn. We picked ear corn probably until late 70s, probably. And we had a crib there. Then out back we had a big crib. And then we used to put trucks in there, and that's called the truck shed. That's where Dad stored his trucks. And now it's just full of junk.
Now, I'd always heard that I live in the home place where my dad was born and raised, and I'd always heard that house was built from the barn scraps after they built the barn. Is that true?
Some of it was, yeah. Yep, it's built from scraps. That and across from the...
Yeah. So back then it was priorities. Build the barn, then your house.
That was the second house. The first house burnt down.
I can remember being a kid and opening that gate up, and I'd see where that rope had wore that wood smooth. I don't know. It's just something that always. I don't know. I was just like, how many times did my dad and my grandpa, I don't know, open that gate for that to be like that? I don't know. It's just something. I don't know. It just means something to me, I guess. So guys, thanks for watching this video. Like I say, this was something that I kind of wanted to do. I think when this barn is going, that we'll be happy we did this. I know it'll mean something to me that my kids will at least be able to see some of their family history, I guess. And I think it'll mean something to Dad too when it does fall down or we tear it down. But thanks for watching. Go ahead and follow us on Instagram and Twitter and go ahead and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Brian's Farming Videos and Facebook at Brown Farms, and we'll see you in the next video.